Welcome to another weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we are coming hot off Fan Expo Philly, and the SummerCon season is in full swing. So I really didn't have much going on this week, but you apparently had a pretty busy week. It's my understanding that you went back for seconds and purchased more of that collector's giant collection.
Listen, much like any good buffet, you always got to go back for another plate. And that's exactly what I did. There were a couple of things when we were there that, like, it was a combination of the owner didn't really want to part with all of it, and also just an idea of how much could you fit in the car at one time. But he was ready to move basically the rest of his stuff, and I went back and went over everything with a fine-tooth comb and found everything I was interested in. And I posted one thing yesterday, which was a belt, which is in the group. And I'll post a few more because it's cool. I never like our group to just be like sales and promotions and stuff. It's nice that, the spirit of Marked Out lives. So I enjoy the like show off like collection posts. And yeah, a lot of cool stuff. There's a couple things I might sell. But
Who are we kidding?
No, there's definitely one. I have some 8x10 of the Iconics that I do not want. Like, it's a nice 8x10 of the Iconics if you're a fan of the Iconics, but I've fast forwarded through everything they've ever done. So I don't want that. So that will be for sale. But that's about it. All this primo stuff I have that I'm keeping, and then that's the thing I'm selling. But that's me, I guess.
And so you went to, by my count, at least 3 signings this week compared to my 0. So what'd you have?
Well, here's the deal. It's funny. 2 of them weren't signings. It was the watch parties, the sports watch parties I've been doing. The first one I did weeks ago with Charles Oakley that we discussed, they didn't make it clear it wasn't the signing, and I got the ball signed. The one since then, I'm not sure if it was because of me or just in general of how they want to frame them. They make it very, very clear that it is not an autograph signing. It is simply a photo op. And I started out with Keith Hernandez. He was Saturday night. That is the 86 Met legend. I've met him before. But when you're talking something that's 6 miles away and I literally leave my house and I'm standing there 14 minutes later, it's like it doesn't take much arm twisting to get me there.
So what does something like that cost?
It costs absolutely nothing. You walk into the bar, you stand on the line if there is one, you hand your phone off to the promoter, you take your photo, and you leave. At least that's how I do it. The goal for them is to fill up the bar, sell drinks, sell food, all that stuff. And honestly, when these watch parties go on, like the bar was packed for Keith Hernandez. You had people swinging from the chandeliers. It was completely packed. So for the most part, it works. People like me, if everyone was like me, it would be completely useless. The bar would fill up, the bar would empty out, and nothing would happen beyond photo ops.
So I assume Keith Hernandez is at the bar to do a watch party for the Mets game. So what is the experience of watching a Mets game with Keith Hernandez like? Is he providing commentary? Is he providing jokes like with everyone? Is they give him a live mic to say things during the game, or is he just physically there and you're kind of near him and that's it?
He's physically there. They have a table set up. It's sort of trying to kind of describe it. You have the bar sort of in the front of the place that loops around like a typical like big sports bar would. And this is off in the back. It's like an elevated, there's like a step up where these tables are. And it would basically like look like it'd be a perfect spot for a piano. And then the table's there, or like for some of the people, they'll have a chair they sit in for the photos. He stood up most of the night, it looked like. And that's it. You just walk back there. If he's not taking photos with fans, which honestly I think he probably did the entire night. They advertised that they would only be doing photos during commercial breaks, but his line was too big. They never would have gotten through it. So they just rolled. At a certain point of the night, maybe it quieted down and he was able to just sit down and like watch the game in your presence, which is basically all it is as a watch party. It would be pretty cool if they actually made them do like commentary and stuff, but no. They just sit in the same space as you watching the game.
So that was, I guess, for the Mets game. And then for the Knicks game is something a little bit more interesting. They had out Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Yeah, Earl the Pearl was there. I think it was a combination of the Knicks being down 0-2 which I think a lot of the bandwagon people were probably hopping off already. And I think Earl the Pearl is an 80-year-old man who I mean, Clyde Frazier's a lot more relevant right now than Pearl is because of the commentating and all that stuff. Earl is not the most relevant today in the public eye. So the crowd wasn't crazy last night. The tables were filled up, but the bar, you could actually walk freely. It wasn't like you were really like a canned ham trying to squeeze through. So it was definitely less crowded, but it was the same concept. Earl was there, sitting in the back. Since he's 80 years old, they had like a tall, like bar-style chair set up for him, which was nice. And he wasn't doing photos during the game. They made everyone wait. And by everyone, I think there were like 15 people that seemed to be waiting at that point. And they made you wait until after the first quarter. The commercial break before the second quarter is when he got up, got in the special chair, and they started knocking them out.
So what was he doing? So you were just watching him watch the screen during the first quarter?
Yes. Which, yeah, I was standing there like leering at him from a distance, which it's always, it's always a
But
creepy...
Is he like talking and laughing at the people around him, or is this just awkwardly silent? I'm trying to picture what this looks like.
There's really no one around him. He sits up at this table with like the different stuff with the promoter. It's basically the promoter, Dom, and his people, and he sits with them. Like, he's not really sitting with the public. He's sitting at a table with them. And then he only really, that's the way they all are. They really only interact when they're taking photos. They're not really...
Like, okay, someone hits a basket. Does Earl jump out of his chair? Like, what happens? It can't be that there's just everyone is just sitting watching. That's bizarre.
I didn't see Earl visibly like cheer at any point in that first quarter. Which, granted, it wasn't the greatest quarter. There wasn't a ton to cheer about, but he was sort of. There was one guy that I think knew the promoter that was like sitting next to him, talking his ear off. So I think he was answering these stupid questions and talking, and he probably wanted the guy to just walk away. So that's part of it. But no, he was just sort of sitting there having a quiet conversation with a gentleman he was sitting next to that seemed to be from his camp. And I've never seen him before with Dom. And he was just doing the photos. Like what you're describing, like if he went table to table, spent 5 minutes at each table, and would interact with the people like that, that would actually be like a watch party. I know what you're saying. It really isn't. It's like saying that you're watching a watch party at the Met game when Jerry Seinfeld's sitting behind home plate. Like, you're just in the same space as him watching the same thing. It's not really a watch party. But listen, it's all about the free photos.
I mentioned to you that I do regret not knowing that Earl the Pearl was going to come out, because I do have a funny, tendentious, I must admit, but a funny connection to Earl the Pearl. So my friend Brett, his uncle, was the producer of a TV show for HBO in the 80s called Hardcore TV. The significance of that, really, I mean, a couple of names came through. The biggest name to come through, it was like a sketch comedy show, but the biggest name to come through was Susie Essman when she was very young. She was on there. But anyway, there was a great skit where Susie Essman was, she played like an old lady, an oversexed old lady was kind of the shtick of the character, and she like did an interview show, and one of the characters who she interviewed was Earl the Pearl Monroe, and she like really grilled him with kind of suggestive type questions and stuff like that. It was pretty funny, and so it would have been. I mean, we used to, when we were teenagers, and we used to watch like his old tapes of that show all the time. I've seen every episode of that show like 1,000 times. And so I have that sketch where Earl the Pearl was in. I have it pretty much memorized word for word. So it would be pretty. It would have been cool to meet Earl the Pearl to see if he remembers doing that. But alas, next time he comes out, I'll have to. I have to admit, attention.
You caring about Earl the Pearl on any level is the last thing I would have thought. So I apologize for not mentioning it, but it seemed completely just. Like, I would have thought Keith Hernandez before Earl the Pearl on a Seinfeld level would have been interesting for you. That's the last thing I would have thought.
Yeah, it's a very strange connection. It's a very, 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 very bizarre one. But I mean, I just that was a key part of my teen years, was watching those tapes over and over and over again. And it was a very, very, very funny sketch. I don't know if you could find it on YouTube. The show, it was at that time period when like sketch shows on HBO, they kind of never were released on DVD or anything like that. So it's really hard to find. But the show was Hardcore TV, and the sketch was Rose Biederman was the name of the character Susie Essman played, interviewing Earl the Pearl Monroe. But I recommend looking it up if you can find it on YouTube. Maybe I'll try and find the video and post the link when we get the episode going. And you were still not finished after Keith Hernandez and Earl the Pearl. You had one more.
I had one more. Listen, anytime someone named Daddy Ass comes to town, you gotta go. So Billy Gunn was at KNS WrestleFest Sportatorium. It was their first ever public signing. So I had, as I always do, I had pieces. One of the pieces was the new belt I had just acquired. So as you can see, rather than making money from buying collections like other vendors do, I just cost myself more money. So I had the belt, I had that new SummerSlam 98 poster, and I had the two figures that had recently come out. And I went down there, and always a good time. The fans were in the building. It was, it's a very nice experience there. I think, if someone in the area is listening and they are interested in public signings, Ken and the KNS crew, it's a nice little time. You get to walk through the hallowed halls of the Sportatorium. You could go into the bathroom and see, Sid Vicious's crusty urine is still in the bowl. I think it's, everything is still as it was, and it's always a good time.
How was the turnout?
Turnout wise, not bad. I mean, it's one of those things where you gotta it's a build and a work in progress. But there were a number of families that came through. There were combos being sold. It seemed good to me.
Was it like a live virtual happening at the same time, or because I have no clue? How did it work?
The public signing lasted, I believe it was an hour, maybe hour and a half, which was also he was doing. Like, it wasn't all public. They did my stuff. They did their own stuff. Unlike something we'll be talking about in a few minutes, they let the fans go first before getting their stock signed. Whenever someone showed up, they would jump the line and get their stuff done. And then the virtual followed.
And so all in all, I guess you posted your stuff. He writes a lot on every item.
I'll tell you, I was debating what inscriptions to get on the pieces. That was his standard. That was his standard deal on each item. It wasn't even a thing where KNS didn't even ask him to do that. That was just what he did. And we were talking about he was laughing at the different fans that'll request huge inscriptions and stuff. And when I walked up to him with my poster, I'm like, listen, dude, I only need 14 colors on this one poster. And he burst out laughing. But yeah, he's if you're not asking him to do something super unreasonable, I mean, beyond what he already put down, I can't even tell you what the hell you would want. He basically gave you everything of value in terms of the inscription. So that really should be enough. But some fans will find enough, reason to write a million other words.
So all in all, a good time was had, and then Ken always delivers. Bottom line.
Yeah. And the only thing I forgot to mention, I wanted to just double back on really quickly. A humorous point happened at the Keith Hernandez watch party. I had a man in front of me, and if you've ever been to a bar in the country, you know the kind of man I'm describing. A sort of on the shorter end, older guy who seems kind of confrontational and aggressive for no reason, I guess because they had a couple drinks and all of a sudden it changes who they are. And he was approaching the line with these cards. He had these trading cards in his pocket. And you could tell he thought he was smarter than everyone else and he was going to get these done. And there was this certain arrogance to him. And it was just set off even more perfectly when the friend ran up to him with the ballpoint pen. It was one of those nice ones that click. You can click it to get the tip out. Yeah, he was really on the cutting edge of memorabilia. And he takes the pen and he's ready to go. So he gets up to the front and the promoter informs him basically he's not signing. So a back and forth ensues. I gotta say, I've never seen the promoter operate before, in this type of a situation. He has a little bit of chutzpah. He certainly, gave it right back to the guy. And it was just humorous. So, you've seen stuff like this before. The guy gets off the line because he didn't like what he was told. So waves his friend over because he's gonna have his friend take the photo because the guy running the thing is being unreasonable. So he like goes up and pulls the cards out, and Keith Hernandez just blanks him. Keith's like, "I'm not doing it. I'm not sure exactly what he said, but it was a cold rejection. He was not doing it." And then he just sort of stood there like this foolishly, and they had to like yell at him to like look for the photo to finally get him out of the way because he was just standing there like a deer in headlights after he got rejected.
I mean, one of the important things I think when you're out doing that, because we've joked before about the art of getting things that you're not necessarily supposed to get, and there is a certain like gracefulness that you have to just, or I guess grace is the better word, but that you have to just deal with when you don't get what you want, which does happen. If you're out there trying to play games, sometimes things don't go your way.
Yeah, that's true.
So there was another. I think we only had one report this week. It was a big one though.
It was.
Zach Linder went to. It was a signing. I think it was in White Plains or a little bit north of New York City. Run by he used a very funny description. It was like a sad mall. Basically, I mean, look. Bottom line is most malls these days are sad, and they're malls are decaying all over the country, and stores or traditional retail is going out of business left and right. But there was this. It was run by someone called BG Entertainment. I have no idea who that is. But they. I mean, do we know them?
They've done like sports shows and different things. So that they've had, as Greg put it, they're sort of known for doing like they've done sports shows with very like poorly run like pro op. It's they're not great as far as their smoothness and their execution.
I was just fascinated by the whole report. So Zach went, and the talent they had advertised was Kurt Angle, X-Pac, Sean Waltman, DDP, the Sandman, and Sabu. Now, obviously, Sabu has died, so they could not appear. You can't fault them for that. But it's my understanding the way Zach described it was there was just a general sense of chaos at this signing. And look, when you have people like Kurt Angle and DDP showing up in a public place, they do draw large crowds. They do. And so he said there was just basically one giant line to meet the talent. And then when you get to the end of the line, he said there were talents that some of them were just signing stock for the store. Some of them went wandering around. They weren't present. And so there was long wait times. And then you really weren't even sure what you were getting when you got there. I think it's so interesting that it's 2025, a retail store has people online waiting to take pictures and get autographs, and they're worried about selling their in-store stock. And I think people need to understand that the most expensive, and this is true of today's market, the highest price you are going to get for an item is from a fan at the table. Once it goes into your retail stock, what you're going to sell it for is below what the fan at the table is paying for. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, it's the car analogy that I think you've made before, where like basically once the talent gets up from that table, it's like the car driving off the lot. You'll never, unless of course they die, in which case you have maybe 16 hours where you could meet or perhaps slightly exceed that number. But beyond that, it's always going to be cheaper than what you could sell it for at the table.
So this is one of those things I just simply don't understand. X-Pac is a perfect example. So I don't know what they were charging retail for X-Pac. Probably $40 or $50, right? That's my guess based on nothing. He can't be more than that retail, can he?
I'm seeing while you're going, I'm going to see if they didn't update their site yet. Maybe tickets are still on there, but I would think he's definitely more than 40. He's probably 50, 60 in this era.
Okay. Look, the proof's in the pudding. Go on eBay and look at sold listings for X-Pac autographs. You're not getting $50, $60 per for X-Pac on the secondary market. You're just not. So,
all right,
so
here's the price: 49 auto, 49 photo op, 79 combo.
Okay. So, all right. So my point is, you should be servicing your in-person customers first because that's your biggest profit margin. It's by far your biggest profit margin. In fact, think about it logically. If you have to sacrifice a backstock item in order to get an in-person through, you always get the in-person through because the in-person paid more. The margin is higher. You haven't even sold the backstock item yet. You have to then sell it later on. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Here's the deal, and I want to make this clear. I'm probably gonna have more nasty things to say about this signing in a few moments. I'm not defending this at all, but I think the logic is as follows. You have Zach Linder standing there with his awesome Hasbro, and he's waiting. They kind of know, for the most part, talent, especially someone that's nice like X-Pac, will absolutely, positively never walk away from that table and leave someone standing there. The backstock, on the other hand, if the time runs out, the backstock, turns right back into a pumpkin and he's out. So the logic is, and like we've been there, like, conceptually of like wanting to get the backstock done in time. The backstock they will walk away from and you will be screwed as a promoter. The fan can wait because they will never walk away from the fan standing there. That is an awful way to conduct yourself as a business. You can't do that. You cannot do that. It's going to make the person that is waiting there this time not want to be back the next time to do that again, because you're showing them that you don't value their time, you don't value their commitment to come and spend money and get their stuff done. But that's what I think it comes down to. They feel like the fan's not going anywhere, the talent's not going to go anywhere with the fan, and let's just get our stuff done while we can, and basically fan be damned.
Not for nothing, who the hell is doing backstock on DDP, Sandman, and X-Pac anyway for large chunks of money? Like, okay, Sandman, whatever, backstock is part of his appearance fee, but as we know, so you're gonna, if you're a retail store, you're gonna be sitting on DDP and X-Pac stuff for a long time. Look at Kurt Angle. How long are we sitting on Kurt Angle for now?
Yeah,
right. We got a chunk of Kurt Angle done. What was it, November?
Was it one before? I think it might have been the November before that. I think I missed one of those big events.
So a year and a half. So there's certain Angle stuff we're sitting on a year and a half. It's like Angle's flying out the door. So to get tons and tons and tons and tons of Angle and DDP and X-Pac, it doesn't really make any sense. These are not people knowing what they cost to book and knowing what the per item price you're going to pay, even wholesale. There's just not a lot of money to be made on these guys. So you want to do an in-person thing where at least you're recouping a lot of the money from people coming up to the table. And if you drew a big crowd like that, I don't know, I would be grabbing as much as I could off the people on that line financially, because that's where your money is coming back. You're going to be sitting on this stuff for a really, really long time. You just are. I mean, at DX jerseys, because that was Zach's report. The guy was getting the store owner was getting like DX jerseys and Funko Pops backstock. Look, am I correct? I believe the Funko Pops from where X-Pac, those were like Target or GameStop exclusive, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't think you're finding them easily and cheap, in large quantities.
No, my point is that you're not able to. If they were like GameStop or Target exclusive, there's really no way for even a retail store to buy those wholesale that cheap. You're still paying much more than you should be for those things. It's not like you're buying them, by the 1,000 where you can get them for, $4 and change or $5 a pop from Funko directly. You're probably paying closer to $10 a piece for these things. There's just not a lot of wiggle room on how much you're going to make on them. It doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to get that many done. What are you gonna get for them?
Here's the deal.
To be there, it's crazy. It's crazy.
If I booked X-Pac, this would be part of my decision, that I would be making the wager that having this stock in on hand is worth having. Like, I'm not saying don't make him hit backstock. By all means, as long as he's sitting there, you might as well keep throwing stuff in front of him. But you don't do it at the expense of the fans that are waiting. You move the fan through, move on to the backstock, and the lull between fans. And if somehow your thing is so crowded that there is no lull, then if you priced it out accordingly and you did your right math,
you made your money.
You made your money. So that's a good problem to have. That's what you should be doing. You don't make fans. We haven't done obviously people know us. We have not done the most or the biggest signings. It's not like we have Shawn Michaels that we're dealing with thousands of fans. But when we're doing backstock, whenever a fan walks up, we stop. Basically deaden our tracks and we let the fan go through and then we start up again. That's how you operate. That is the only way to operate to me.
Margin-wise, I would take one fan coming up over 3 or 4 pieces of backstock or more. Yeah. That's just a reality. So it's one of those things where it just shows I mean, how short-sighted or foolish some of these people are. But you announce these names, they're going to draw regardless. And the truth of it is, one of the things we've seen time and time again with the autograph hobby in general, fans tend to not really care who's bringing the talent in. If the talent is a name that will draw, it could be the worst vendor on earth, and people will come pay.
One thing I see, which is funny, on their site, X-Pac, you could get an inscription. Yeah, they're charging now. They're charging for everyone's inscription. X-Pac was plus 30 for an inscription. Old Hack was plus 20 for an inscription. So these people are firmly in the charge for inscription game right now, which is not a common one for wrestling. But I mean, I'm sure it's getting there.
Yeah, I think within the next year, everyone will be there. So I thank Zach. Zach really gets to a lot of things that, frankly, I don't even know they're happening until I see posts about them.
And let me just make one point. Also, Zach's his reports are always funny. I really enjoyed the people that are just clearly missing his obvious humor. He was making jokes about Sabu and not being there, and there's people in the comments. Do yourself a favor, just read the comments on his report because it's hilarious. There's a couple Neanderthals that are just completely why is he making fun of Sabu? And it's he's obviously not. Come on, have some ability to read tone.
Yeah, and no, that's a lost cause. People are, especially we're double whammy between the autograph hobby and also the wrestling fans. There's a lot of missing links in the evolutionary chain there, and that's what unfortunately what you get. But it was pretty funny. There was some pretty funny stuff. I don't. It's weird. I think he had mentioned that the promoter had continued advertising Sabu after Sabu's death, and Sabu's face still appeared on the flyer, and he made a lighthearted joke about it. And then there was one guy was really funny. He replied something like, "Do you expect the promoter to incur thousands of dollars in costs changing the marketing for this?" It's let's slow down, buddy. No one's spending thousands of dollars on anything except, if anything, they're saving thousands of dollars not having Sabu there.
Listen, if it costs thousands of dollars to update graphics for these shows, I will hang my shingle yet again, and I'll start doing I'll do graphics for people if that's the going rate. I'll find the time.
Yeah, Fiverr is called Fiverr for a reason, right? Come on. It just, people are so silly. Anyway, in hobby news, a couple of things that happened this week. Fanatics did issue new tickets for all of the recently announced talent and previously announced talent this week. A lot of the stuff that had sold out the first round sold out again, but they were pretty good about it. There was a lot of debate because there was stuff that had sold out in the VIP round, and people flipped out saying that once again the GA ticket holders were not going to be able to access those tickets. But Fanatics did hold back certain tickets for GA ticket holders, and so all things considered, the stuff was easier to get the second time around. Certain people were very difficult, but we'll get into the Fanatics stuff closer, really, and talk about what we bought and everything closer to that show in a couple weeks. But they did issue tickets. I think they in this regard, I think they lived up to their promises from before. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As far as getting tickets out to the people, now it's going to remain to be seen if the people actually fulfill all the photo op tickets that were sold, because that was something that happened last year where people were sort of turned away and talent just left. But more on that when we talk about it in a couple of weeks.
So another con news, Rhode Island Comic-Con, and they announced a Mallrats reunion. Kind of hard to do a Mallrats reunion without Shannon Doherty, but that's going to happen as these properties rely on talent that, as the talent starts to die and become unavailable, they're going to keep trying to run those reunions anyway, because why not? But you still actually need Joey Lauren Adams.
Joey Lauren Adams only came around, honestly, during the time when I had my self-exiled, my self-imposed exile from Monster Mania, Chiller Theater, and I still, for the life of me, don't understand why I did that. But there were years where I was just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't know why. It was honestly really strange, but it saved me probably thousands of dollars. So that was probably better than my current thinking. But yeah, Joey Laurer and Adams is big. Big Daddy, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, a lot of really good things that I like. So
Now, I got her at Monster Mania 100 years ago, and I
will definitely get her. The thing is, I have and you're going to laugh at me for this, I have a Mallrats poster that I don't think I ever got Shannon Doherty on, what the hell was I thinking? I don't know. It made no sense. I think I forgot it at that. I don't even know what I did, but I didn't get her on it. So now I'm like, do I need her really? If I didn't get her, like, what's the difference? So I may not get her on.
Wasn't your whole thing that you got, what the hell was his name on there? You got Jason Lee on there, and that was like your big name to make it, I guess, semi-complete, and then you really left off Shannon Doherty, who would have really...
I know. It made no sense, because she was at that Rhode Island, like that last one she did, and she was in that, like, room by the photo ops, and I could see it clear as day. Her table, she had no line. I could have waltzed right up and been done in 20 seconds. Like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I didn't bring it. I guess I just decided it was... that's what I did. I think I got the JSA on it. I got JSA on it when I had the one I sold. I got them both JSA'd, I believe. And then I didn't want to have to update the JSA. That might have been what I did. I don't know.
That's not hard.
I know. It made no sense. It's really stupid. But now, I saved money there, and I may save money on Adams beyond a photo op. So perhaps it's not as dumb as it sounds.
To be decided. In other news, Brendan Fraser is back on the con circuit. He had been doing cons pretty regularly, and then when the Oscar stuff happened, he basically vanished from the scene, and now he is back at Fan Expo Chicago coming up. I do think his prices will probably be double what they were previously. Have you looked up his prices now?
I'm in the process right now. I would imagine, like, the Oscar bump, he should definitely go up. That would just make sense.
Can you buy him? Let's see what we're doing here. Brendan Fraser. I got so photo op 133. What's a 130 plus? 125 plus fees. An autograph on a premium item is 120 plus fees.
That's a steal.
So I mean, he was $60 at Fan Expo Boston.
He was that low?
It was either 60 or 80. Yes, and I didn't get him. He was the only guest with a line at that show, and I didn't pre-order him. And then at halfway through the show, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll get in line. And they capped his line. And I didn't get him. That Boston show when there was basically no fans there, and I didn't do it. And I wanted, it was either 60 or 80. So yeah, he's
so
substantially
are you Chicago bound?
Oh, absolutely not. For Brendan Fraser, no. I don't even like any of his work at all. It was more like he's there, and I was getting at that was my I was getting everyone at every show era before I chilled out. I turned over my new leaf at the beginning of this year.
I mean, listen, I feel like we don't do much as far as discussing the positives of, like, pricing. I think that's extremely fair. I think he's in big franchises, just won the Oscar, hasn't done a ton of cons. Like, this is probably the first time he's been in Chicago in that market. I think it's fair. I mean, you see the Grant Gustin, Charlie Cox type pricing out there. I mean, the fact that he's in their zip code with a much, much more robust resume, I think he's, kudos to Brendan Fraser. I'm on board with that pricing.
Yeah, it's just tough for me because they're still so high, and these guys are making, six figures over the course of a weekend, and it's like, I don't know. It's still I mean, I guess relative to knuckleheads like Grant Gustin, this is low. But I do think the overall surge in pricing, I think us looking at $120 autograph or $125 photo op and saying, yeah, it's not bad, is just really a sign of how warped the hobby has become.
I guess, but I mean, I would say you would say warped, and I would agree with you in theory, but I would also point out that you could go back to a time with conventions where you have, like, the likes of Mason Reese and, Adam West. Not to put Adam West with Mason Reese, because Adam West always did good business. But, like, here we are debating if the Oscar winner's pricing is too high. Like, you have an Oscar winner with franchises at a Comic-Con. Like, I get the pricing's out of whack to a degree of any sort of normalcy, but I mean, I think I would take this warped world with Oscar winners doing cons over the old con world where you just had washed up like G-listers.
No, I get it. They're definitely look with adding real star power to these shows. There's been a sort of a what is it? The rising tide lifts all boats kind of attitude towards pricing, and that's what we have. So on one hand, it's cool having big stars at shows. On the other hand, it's changed the whole texture of what these shows mean. I mean, but there's lots of things have changed these shows. I talked about it a little last week, but not a lot. That the talent with the big lines in Fan Expo were the anime voices. This is a world that is just foreign to me. I was like, I kind of did it when I did my loop around the show. I was walking around and I was looking at the signs with these names on them, and the anime people have different kinds of banners than the other people. So the anime people have like the cartoon drawings of the different people they've portrayed on their signage, and I'm looking at these characters, and I recognize very few of these characters. Obviously, I'm not the demographic, but it's almost like there are these whole new segments of the hobby that are emerging. I think we're going to see, and we saw a little bit at New York Comic Con. I think we're going to see more coming up about, for example, the video game voices. We're going to start seeing more and more and more of these video game voice actors doing really, 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 really brisk business. Steel City has a couple of, they have the Baldur's Gate people coming in. They also have the what's his face, the guy from Halo coming in, and you're gonna see, I think that's gonna be sort of the new frontier of all of these. Everyone is open for business, you know what I mean? And we're gonna start seeing all of these new people coming in, charging tons of money. And I think the cons of today bear very, very, very little resemblance to the cons of, say, 15 years ago. And I just wonder what that's going to look like in another 5 or 10 years, and whether we'll be completely almost pushed out by the anime and the video games and those things that I have no interest in.
I don't think we'll ever be pushed out, because there's always going to be actors that want to make money, and there's always going to be fans that want to spend money on actors and other Hollywood personalities. I think there's going to absolutely be an expansion of the video game voices in the anime, because on a video game level, I mean, think about it. You watch a movie. Let's say you watch the new Lilo and Stitch. You're in the theater for what, an hour and a half? Maybe you watch it back 3 times more because you loved it so much. How many hours are you spending on like Red Dead Redemption or any of those games? I don't play them at all, so I spend 0. But if you're playing those games start to finish and you're doing little side quests and all this stuff, you are like living with these voices and these characters at a much, much, much higher level than you are a movie voice actor. So I think it makes perfect sense if you're a gamer that you would want these people the same way I want, Cummings for all the voices that he played that I, loved as a kid. So I get it, and it's always nice to see stuff added to a con that I have no desire or urge to spend money on. So, I mean, keep it coming. But I really don't think we're ever pushed out. I think, if anything, it just becomes more commonplace for the A-listers to do these cons. And I think the sad thing for me personally is that this all happened at a time where, mortality is absolutely not on our side as far as getting like the Harrison Fords and the De Niros and those people out. Like, I think they're too old at this point, too crotchety and grumpy. Like, I think if they were 30 years younger and the business was going the way it's going, I think they would all do them at some point in some capacity. But I mean, we'll probably never get these 80-year-olds out that don't want to do it. But I think the younger ones will. I think that's just going to be the normal thing.
Yeah, I think that generation's a lost cause.
Yeah. And I would listen, Harrison Ford is probably the one, a mix of fandom and then the idea that we were in front of him and we have no photo to show for it. Like, that is like my ultimate white whale. So like he is one, if he did a signing in a Chicago or something, I know I say a lot of times on here I would look at plane tickets, but that time I actually would. That would be a real chance I would travel. But I mean, it's not going to happen. But I think like the young ones, like Timothy Chalamet and the age group of that age range, all those A-listers are going to do cons. They just will. And I think that's what the cons look like in 10, 15 years. You're not surprised anymore when they do. every con is going to have like bona fide A-listers charging huge amounts.
I'm waiting for musicians to really get in on this.
Listen, the old rappers, that's what I'm waiting for. Bring out Ja Rule. Come on.
It's one of those things that I don't understand why they haven't yet. The money that could be made relative to the money they're making, a lot of these guys aren't making any money anymore.
No.
And so they could easily pull in 5 figures on a weekend or even 6 figures, some of them with the right promotion.
Think of like a Fat Joe just doing a local New York con, like an NYCC or Fanatics Fest or anything. Like I don't get it either. It doesn't make any sense to me. Method Man did Steel City, seemed to have a good time because he loves all that stuff, and he did good business for one day appearance. It was the line was brisk. I don't get it. Hopefully one day.
Exhibit did that New York Comic Con as basically a free guest. You just have to buy something. I don't know why. Putting even rappers to the side, there are bands, that would make more from a con appearance than they do make on shows. I mean, hell, there were certain bands that I had sent offers to. This is something we haven't talked about this. How many times we send cold offers to organizations, to bands, to celebrities who just never respond. There were a couple of bands who were coming through who I thought I could make real money on, and offered them what I thought. Look, you can get a sense, and how much a band is getting paid for a show, right? You look at the ticket prices, you look at the capacity of the venue, you multiply it out and you divide by 2, and that's what a band can cap out at a show. And so there was a band locally about 6 months ago who was coming through, who I did that calculation for, and I made them an offer for more than they were making to play the show, to do a signing, because I believed there was really money there, and I never got a response. So I think a lot of and there's a private sign, not even public. So I think a lot of these bands and a lot of these musicians, that's going to be the next frontier. Some talent agent is going to figure out a way to get them out, and it's going to start small, and then the floodgates are going to break open. You're going to see. That's going to be the next 5 years. Is going to be the musicians.
Yeah. Just imagine a group photo op at a convention with like the Wu-Tang Clan. Like that would be huge. But when you break each guy down individually, as far as what are they doing on a monthly basis, like that's extremely possible. Like these guys aren't that busy, but one day.
I wish, we're having this conversation now, or we're having this idea now. I don't know what it's going to take. It's going to take someone with industry credibility to convince someone to do it.
Yeah.
It just is. And it's funny because the kinds of appearances that musicians are doing now are really not generating them the kind of revenue and the kind of publicity that a con appearance could. Speaking of, there's kind of a funny thing. When is the event happening? Actually, did it happen this weekend?
May 28th, Wednesday.
All right, so it's Wednesday. So at Looney Tunes in West Babylon, New York, and that's you've given them a bunch of free publicity, but they're actually having Joe Jonas in for photo ops with fans, and the whole thing has been pretty funny from start to finish. They pre-sold. It was kind of, you have to buy his CD, or it's only CD only, and you get a photo op with Joe Jonas. And they opened it up to the website, and it sold out in like 15 minutes. And they opened up a second batch, and that also sold out in like 15 minutes. And then, it's pretty funny. The whole thing is really funny. If you go to the Looney Tunes Facebook page, one of the owners of Looney Tunes, he put up a video. And this video was like 10 solid minutes. It's not like 1 minute, explaining the rules of the Joe Jonas appearance. And while I do on one level, I do appreciate the attention to detail, and he must really know his customers to know they need the rules explained this delicately. We both thought this video was pretty funny.
Yeah, I was on the couch watching all 10 minutes of this video, and my wife's like, why are you watching this? Like, it's literally 10 minutes of this guy just talking about the rules of an event you're not going to, which those were all fair questions, but it was honestly completely hilarious. And I understand. He's going to have 500 like teenage girls and Ira at
There's
this
no
event.
teenage girls at this thing. There's like 40-year-old girls. Come on.
They will be okay. They won't be all teenage girls, but there will be a lot of teenage girls. I think. I think there'll be a mix.
The Jonas Brothers are in their 30s now, aren't they?
I think the teenagers still like them. Maybe.
I'm gonna go with a hard no on that one.
But anyway, the takeaways here were if you get it's one of the usual deals where they always say they hire this stellar photographer. And it's usually either the owner himself or just another guy that works in the store taking pictures on like the same camera he probably took his kids' graduation photos on 10 years earlier. I mean, they're fine, but it's not like he acts like he hired this like band photographer, which, maybe he did this time. We'll see. And the whole point was if you even attempt to go for an autograph while you're up there, they will delete your photo off the memory card, which is kind of hilarious. And if you try for a selfie while you're up there, they will snatch the phone away from you, which, I mean, I'm not even sure how, what does that actually look like? Is that guy with the mustache and the vest, is he going to start like wrestling the phone away from 40-year-old Nancy who's trying to get a selfie?
And if you attempt to speak to Joe Jonas, you will be killed in front of the whole crowd. I know why they have to do this, because the kind of people who go to these types of appearances, and maybe this is the impediment to music signings, but people get crazy, truly crazy, and these appearances are magnets for the emotionally unwell. I mean, we talked a little bit about that John Cena thing, last week with the guy in the Q&A. We didn't actually talk about, because it made the rounds on Twitter. I think you saw it. Apparently, while we were away at Fan Expo last weekend, formerly Paige of WWE, Saraya, she was at some kind of signing where a fan tried to kiss her on the lips. Did you see that?
Yes.
And like it caused a whole sort of hullabaloo, because obviously you can't go around kissing people who don't know you and aren't expecting it. Although Linda Hamilton during her appearance at Chiller was kissing fans on the lips. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. But that's a whole different. It's Linda Hamilton. You just let it go. But it just shows you dealing with people who are not all there. Kind of demented, for lack of a better word.
And of that Paige Saraya thing, it was interesting to me, and absolutely, there's no defending that. That is crazy. That definitely makes the people on lines at autograph signings look bad by association. Like it's unfortunate, but you have people out there. Oh my God, this is going to be the end. This is going to be the ruination of the hobby. We've had creeps doing this for decades. Like this isn't new. Like, these things happen. I'm sure people tried to kiss Sonny back in the day. People probably try to kiss Sonny now. That's a whole different story. This isn't new. It's disgusting and terrible, but it's not new. So let's keep that in perspective. But it's absolutely crazy. It's what you've said with the parasocial relationships. These people think, I don't know what they think. They think because they watched her wrestle, and they may have watched some videos of her on various websites, that then they have some like familiarity with her, or maybe they sense the vibes because she faked interest in what they were telling her for 10 seconds, and that's obviously a green light to go for a kiss. Like I have no idea. I can't make sense of it, but it's wild. And I think you do have a point. I think you see something like that, like someone. And women are worse than dudes as far as like the physicality that they think they can get away with. Like I guarantee someone is going to try to kiss him on the mouth, Joe Jonas. Someone is going to, that's just the case. Like it's going to happen. So I guess you have to play this hard game of I'm going to delete your photo. It just sounds like funny to me. But
especially because the kind of person who would be crazy enough to do something stupid at one of these shows is not going to watch the video anyway, or even if they do, they're not going to internalize what the video is saying. So this guy just wasted his time making it, and it's a funny video. The whole thing is super awkward. I highly recommend checking it out, just because it's very ridiculous looking. What else was announced? Steel City was pimping a big announcement for a headliner, and they got you all tickled and excited, and then they went ahead and they announced Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things, and you were irrationally angry about this. I always enjoy when you get so like viscerally disappointed by stuff. I'm not sure why that's enjoyable to me, but it was pretty funny.
You always know. You always know I'm angry when I actually convey the anger during like Apple CarPlay voice typing.
Yeah, it's just really funny because like, look, these guys they gotta hype. That's their job, is to hype and sell tickets. And is he a headliner? I wouldn't consider him a headliner, but he does draw.
Let me express my anger correctly. He is a headliner in the sense that maybe the teenage girls I was expecting for Joe Jonas will be here instead.
But I would say it's probably closer to the truth. Yeah,
he draws that crowd. He's valuable. It's just for us, and you haven't informed the listeners that you think you may be able to go to Steel City. So
as of right now, it's a maybe. Yeah.
So we're in a weird spot where, like, for me personally, I'm a little less excited about Smart than you are. The kids I'm excited about. That's really cool. So like, I'm in a weird place where like I'd be down to go, but it's like I would like a Charlie Sheen or something that would be really cool. That I'd be like, oh, okay, that's why I'm going.
Well, Steel City hasn't even. They really haven't even begun.
I know, but Gaten.
They usually have 50, 60 guests. Right now, we're looking at 20 guests. So there's.
I'm like, God forbid they go on some weird like Stranger Things reunion that wouldn't involve like Finn or any of the ones I actually need and care about. Like, that they have that new. I'm like 3 seasons behind, so I don't even know who half the people they book are.
Did you get Will? Did you get Will, or you never did?
Will who? What's the actor's name?
Noah Schnapp.
No, I need Noah. I need Finn. If they want to do a reunion and bring those suckers out, by all means.
Oh, so because you were not at Monster Mania with Noah Schnapp before he was a star.
I missed the Stranger Things kids. I missed the It kids. I've missed a lot of kids.
You missed all the yeah.
Now they're all weird and older. Like who the hell wants to take a pic? Like those It kids now, probably unrecognizable. But
absolutely.
I'll still take them.
When they were at Monster Mania, they looked like the It kids. When Noah Schnapp was at Monster Mania, he looked like Will from from season 1. Now he's like a college kid, whatever. It's not the same, But that's how the hobby goes. Yep. What else do we have on here? I really wish we had gotten a report from Texas Frightmare Weekend. I had read a couple of things. They weren't posted to our page, so I don't, but they're not by people who I know, so I don't really want to say. But there was a general consensus that the event was pretty poorly run. I've never been to Texas Frightmare. I probably will never go to Texas Frightmare. It's unfortunate because they keep getting people like Bruce Campbell has not done a Northeast show in forever. I really need Bruce Campbell again. I haven't gotten Bruce Campbell since the Monster Mania Connecticut show, and he wasn't doing photo ops at that show at all. Back in the day, so I need Bruce Campbell. You don't have Bruce Campbell, right?
No, I need Bruce Campbell as well. It's strange when you see like a Bruce Campbell and like the same thing with Norman Reedus, who I have. But you we are very like hyper fixated, which I mean I guess rightly so, on the shows in our location. And I think it's one of those things like that whole like concept that when you like close your eyes, that if you think like everything that you see when they're open ceases existing, like just because you're not looking at it, like the lights go, you know what I mean? Like that whole like metaphysical type of thought with the cons. We don't even realize sometimes how active some of these people are. They just don't come in our part of the world.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure why. Like, Bruce Campbell has a pretty active con schedule. It's just he hasn't come to the Northeast in years.
Yeah.
Once the last thing he did was he was on a panel at NYCC a while back, but he didn't actually do anything. So I don't know. Someone bring in Bruce Campbell, please, is really what I'm asking.
I mean, I imagine the answer is as to why. It's probably whoever his representation is, which I'm not even sure who he's represented by. They likely, I guess, don't really frequent any of the shows around here for whatever reason. They must have had falling outs, maybe. I'm not sure. I actually have to do a little bit of research on who reps Bruce Campbell. But that would seem like the most simplistic, that the agent just doesn't really deal or come to these events.
I don't know. But yeah, if anyone went to Texas Frightmare Weekend, please post a report on the Facebook group because I would like to see what happened and we'll see some photos and stuff.
Same.
And then the last thing, there's should we talk about that last thing, or maybe kick it around next week?
I guess next week. I think it's actually going to be a little big. We're already at nearly an hour. We haven't even gotten into the main topic. So,
all right. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Also, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and leave a rating or review. You can leave a review or a rating on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating on Spotify. Or you can leave a comment, thumbs up or thumbs down on YouTube. All right, so let's get into it. It seems that our buddies at Control Center on eBay are branching out and into other types of fake autographs.
Yeah, I mean, in a weird, twisted way, this is kind of like the American dream at work. I mean, you have a small business expanding. This just should be a great thing. We should be, celebrating this. They're crossing over. They're doing something new, but it's the same old thing that they've been doing, just to new, unsuspecting people. I noticed while doing my pre-sleep eBay scroll last night that our old buddies at Control Center are now selling Robert Englund and Kane Hodder horror Funkos. And they are spinning these, which is interesting. They really never would preface any of this before. Now they're starting to be a little more, I guess, aware of the reputation. They are advertising these as being sold by consignment from someone called, I think, Screaming Good Deals, which when you look them up, there's no real record of anything existing of Screaming. And the whole idea that someone would go to them, forget their reputation. Let's assume everything they sell is real. Let's suspend belief and just say everything is real. Everything sells for pennies on the dollar. You see someone selling Undertaker for $90, $70, $80, whatever. And you're going to say that's the account I wanted to hire to sell my stuff. That would make zero sense, but whatever. And that's the thing now. They are selling it on consignment. And I got to say, when you first looked, it had you going for a minute.
It did. It had me going. And then I went and I pulled my Robert Englund exemplars, and I pulled 7 or 8 pieces. And I went, the problem is whoever does the fakes for them is an artist, truly. And unless you're very, very, very careful, you can notice. Then you see what they do and the mistakes they make, and you go, "Damn!" But they looked pretty damn good until they didn't.
Whoever is doing it, like you said, I've never seen anyone this skilled. I mean, I can wrap my head around, kids will forge their parents' signature on a permission slip or on a bad test grade, and sometimes they do a good job, and that you've been seeing that signature your entire life, you get good at it. Okay, whatever. That's one signature. Whoever's doing theirs, they do a great job on what? Some are worse than others. Notice some ECW ones that look pretty bad, which is hilarious because they've booked those guys so much. They should have just piles of legit stuff to begin with. I don't know
why would you forge Shane Douglas, who can be had for pennies wholesale?
But when you're that good at that many different signatures, you are an artist. I actually wish that they would use their talent in a positive way, because that's it's really impressive. If it wasn't so disgusting and just awful. But I see the Control Center eBay was popping as this fake, and you made a good point off camera. They have signed classics of Harley Race that are bad. For $40 opening bids, and we know how their auctions usually go. It's not going to go much over 40. And like you pointed out, Harley Race classics in good condition. Hell, it would actually be worth buying the signed one and wiping it. It's really not a bad price for anyone out there that wants a mock mint on card Harley Race classic.
Yeah, I don't really understand the business model. I just think he takes whatever he has and he tries to move it any way he can, and some of it's I think he's signing it just to move the unsigned. It's easier to move signed than unsigned, right?
Yeah. And I will say I was a bit like, it's scary now because like you have like, I think in the wrestling world, like I'm not even going to take credit for it. Like I think most people that were in the game for a while before we even brought this up knew that they weren't good. So you had a lot of people that were not aware, and I'm sure we've definitely opened some eyes, which I'm very like grateful for that opportunity to do. But how many people in the horror sphere are truly aware of who they are? So all of a sudden they start seeing Freddies that look kind of good when you first look for a great price. They'll be doing this. It's the same story all over again. Just instead of Undertaker, it's that, and it's just. I guess the next.
What's really scary about the Freddies is they use. Like Robert Englund uses Posca, he uses medium tip Poscas to sign. He uses he has a particular color pattern that he often does, and they replicated all of that stuff. It all looks like his pattern, except some little details in there. So, and of course, the biggest tell is the price. Frankly, the price is a big tell.
That's what I kept saying to you when you were first like, I don't know, it looks kind of good. I kept saying, well, we know it's not because we know the math. Like, we know the math on Robert. And then when you actually looked at your exemplar, like, it was, clearly bad. And you are the England guy of the two of us. I'm not that well versed on England. But, I mean, I just knew that's the thing. That's what I always tell people. I'm no expert on Robert Englund. Not at all. But I saw that. I saw the price. I saw the reputation of who's selling it. That's all you need. And I had a guy yesterday, it's a really quick anecdote. I had a guy yesterday messaging me asking, is this real? Is that real? And I'm always open for that. I usually push them to post it on the group because, again, I'm not an expert in, on everybody. So I don't want to be the one that just says yes, no. Like I want it to be a conversation. But he was looking at a Kane autograph that was like whatever price it was. And I said, I just sent him a link to High Spots. I'm like, just buy it here, bro. Like it's like a few dollars more, and it's real. Like I don't even know where that was from. He cropped it tight. I couldn't even tell where it was from. And when people want to say that this is like a crusade that we're doing to sell our own stuff, I've never sent anyone or posted a link to any of our own stuff. Like, hey, buy from us. Absolutely not. I mean, yes, buy from us, but I've never done that. Buy from High Spots. If Ken's got something, buy from Ken. Like, don't buy to save $5 and have to worry, is this Kane real? Like, just buy it from a source is real. Stop trying to save $5.
Yeah, that's something that, look, that's the reason why these guys are able to do what they do, is because they prey on that weakness that is in many of our hearts, which is we want to try and get the best deal possible and not get taken for a ride, and we feel like we're paying more. And that's it's kind of like insurance companies. You can go shopping for the cheapest insurance company because you're required to have insurance, right? But there are certain insurance companies that have a reputation for not honoring claims or not honoring claims in a timely fashion. And I made that mistake one time where my insurance was high, and I was like, you know what, let me go to a cheaper insurance company. And then I got into an accident, and they denied me towing. And it's like, but how am I supposed to get my car? It's not drivable. How am I supposed to get my car to a shop to get it fixed? And they're like, that's not our problem. And I was like, it really was a moment of clarity for me that sometimes you pay a little bit more, but you get a service that you actually pay for. And so that's true in every facet of life. And this is just a good example of that, where if you, if you think you can save $5, that's not a steal. Look, if you want to take a gamble on a really expensive thing and a pile of garbage at a flea market, fine. You want to try and save $2 or $3 or $5 or $10 buying from a dodgy source, then you're a fool. And that's the truth. Like, look, it happened yesterday on Marked Out. No, it wasn't Marked Out. It was on the Disqualified group, where a bunch of people. A guy posted a bunch of autographs, and some of them came from GTG, Richie, Knucklehead. And, just taking a cursory glance, at least like he was doing some Bret Harts. And the Bret Harts that came from Richie looked fine. Like they looked good. They looked what I would think a Bret Hart looks like. It didn't have any of the telltale negatives of like an Embler forgery or anything like that. They looked fine. But would I ever tell someone that they're safe buying from Richie? Of course not. because
Huh.
he's a liar and a fraud and should be in prison, and so and a thief, and so I just to save a couple bucks
Yeah,
to
it makes
buy
no
from it
sense.
makes no sense. Yeah.
But yeah, really quick on that. I know you've kind of said what you need to say already, but I got some heat because which is funny. I don't even know how I got heat with Richie yesterday when I actually said the Bret Harts look good. I put over the Brets, but I guess
Because he's unwell.
I made the point that you made where I said I wouldn't own or recommend anyone own anything with a GTG sticker because it's the waters are too muddy. I stand by that. I will stand by that as long as I live. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff. I think those Brets are good, but I mean, you got to start sifting through what isn't and what isn't. And then this morning, I woke up to I realized it's like it's one of those things with him where, like you said, he's unwell, and it's honestly a little annoying. I think that you have someone with so many limitations in life that is able to like function somewhat in this business. It really makes all of us look bad. That like someone like Richie could actually even be a pimple on the ass of this entire like business. That he like manages to stay afloat on some level. But I guess good for him. He's able to achieve and overcome all that. But some of the stuff he was sending, like when you engage him, you sometimes would feel like, oh, I don't want to be a bully and go after him. So I try to ignore him. And the funny thing is, by ignoring him mostly last night, I think I made 2 comments and then I ignored all the rest. Like legit woke up to like a stream of messages, like just unhinged. Like he likes the attention, which I mean, here I am giving it to him. But there were a couple of things that he posted and messaged that were hilarious. The one thing was that you and I were looking over our shoulders in Philadelphia at Fan Expo. We were very scared of the GTG crew coming for us.
I don't even know how to like. I wonder these things. Like, how am I supposed to react? Like, imagine in public this like man of limited intelligence that's yelling at you and play. What am I supposed to say? It's like when you're walking down the street in a city and you see like a street person who's having a mental health crisis like yelling at you. What you do is like just keep walking.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think I'd do? It reminds me. Remember that time we were I think it was the time we were doing the white collar set, and that woman was screaming that she wanted us to buy her a hot dog. Do you remember that?
Yes.
The whole thing was it white collar? I'm pretty sure it was, right? Where our whole stalking mission was like almost ruined by this woman who was just clearly having a mental health crisis and clearly was a menace to the people around her because she was very threatening. She was very aggressive. She was like, get in your face, screaming that she wanted a hot dog. But that's like whenever I see like a comment from one of these people who's like, it will just say that to my face in public. That's how I always envision it going, with like this person who I ultimately feel bad for, but would certainly not interact with in public. And they start yelling at you. Like, what exactly do you think the outcome is going to, like, Richie, what do you think the outcome is going to be if you say something in public? You'd be looked at like you were, water vapor sort of in the air. And I would look through you, not at you, and then just walk away while you just yelled at the air. Like, what do you think? It's exactly. So absurd.
I actually just picked up my phone. I have legit. I'm not even going to screenshot these because it's like it's just nothing worth screenshotting. Hold on, like I'm not reading this. Like it's insane. And the one thing he said that made me chuckle actually, he like everything he writes is like because he's limited. Everything he writes is completely like incorrect. He will spell the same word wrong 5 times in a row. Like it's not a typo. You just don't know how to spell it, which is whatever. And I basically said, learn how to spell. It's hard to read this stuff. And he goes, why don't you make me learn how to spell? You're a teacher, right? So I responded, like, you want me to teach you? How would that work? And then he has changed the subject. Like I'm going to like teach. Is this like some weird like kindergarten cop? Like, I'll teach me how to spell. Like, I don't even understand what it means. It's all gibberish. It really is. And I mean, it's actually kind of inspirational that someone that was dealt the hand that he was dealt in life is able to like, I guess, string together cons and scams and, I guess.
Still, the
Yeah.
problem is that when you look at the people defending him, they are kind of lower than he is, and so it's like it's a scenario where he's scamming the saddest among us, and it is what it is. I don't even want to. I don't even want to say anything more about him. It's just he continues to, anytime there's a question, even when his stuff is questioned, and people are like, yeah, because that's the danger of these guys. They mix good and bad, right? So even when his stuff is brought up and people go, yeah, it looks pretty good, that just the fact that it's brought up it sends him into a tizzy.
And he is, I have to say, as unintelligent as he is, he does have the ability to understand that he peppers these like whenever someone brings up, like you said, someone will bring up his stuff, and I put over the Bretts twice, but he will like respond to every comment like repeatedly. And his other, like his cronies, do the same thing, and it kind of like creates, like you pointed this out last week, but it sort of creates this illusion of all this bickering and fighting, and like there's none of that. It's him. It is absolutely him. And he got and you see what happens now. My phone is filled up with messages because I basically said to him last night, like this, I'm making 2 responses and I'm done, and I left the other stuff alone. And he wants that attention. He wants to distract from the fact that, yes, I said the Bretts were real. I didn't like some of the other ones. I guess that's a problem because it sort of shows that, my Bretts are good, but my Lexes aren't. And then you start trying to figure out, like, that's where that whole thing gets all muddy. But like you said, I would love to say I'll never bring Richie up again, but I'm sure I will get messages from like that appear like a 7-year-old chimpanzee wrote them. And I'll have to mention them again because it's just too funny. But hopefully we go a couple of weeks not dealing with his idiotic, rants.
And it's funny. I also noticed there was something going around. It was on the Rack Funko group. There were people talking about kind of a new, I don't think necessarily very new, but a new-ish wave of fake high-end Funko autographs going on eBay with fake PSA stickers. They're being sold by an outlet called Poptopia Shop. But what is, to me, the biggest red flag is that they are the photos, the what do you call it? The listing photo? That's the word I'm looking for. The listing photo for these auctions are just clearly photoshopped. I sent them to you the other day.
Yeah, it's terrible. Someone had a Drake album that had this that was up, and apparently that's something that's been toiling around forever. It's like it's like a as you see, everything evolves, and you have these new attempts at just frauding and stealing from people. And this is the new one. And what I will say, I always appreciate when they kind of keep their presentation consistent, because for the people that know and the people that are going to know, as like, us and other places bring this more to the light, it's a little easier to like, it's easier to sort of differentiate the good from the bad when they are all kind of handled and presented the same way. It's the ones with more nuanced styles that it's more subtle that's scary, when they start falling into all different hands and it all just like, just disperses throughout. And you really can't tell where one thing begins and another thing ends. But right now it's kind of apparent, but it's still crazy.
Right. Yeah. And what a lot of these guys do is they'll source real. They're pretty blatant about it. They'll source real ones, then they'll copy those real ones. Sometimes they'll use the real photos in their listing, and then send, when you buy them, they send you different ones. There's so many cons to this. I know we had talked about that the TPAs can't be trusted, right, to be accurate. But kind of an easy rule of thumb: if someone is advertising a certificate of authenticity, their photos should have clear evidence of that certificate of authenticity, the clear evidence of the sticker, clear evidence of the cert card. It should be clearly visible. That's an easy way to tell there's some shenanigans going on when it's not visible. And so, or when the TPA sticker looks wrong or looks different, or there's something about it that's strange. But that's what's going on with a lot of these eBay auctions. So yeah, it's a jungle out there. It's really a jungle out there with autographs, and it's very tough. Oh shoot! I forgot to mention, unrelated to any of this. You know what? I'll bring it up next time. I'll talk about because I had multiple consignments go out this
Oh,
week.
you did? Yeah. Next week we got to do that. And one more thing I wanted to touch on, which we never really got super deep into them, and we're not going to get super deep into them today. But it's just one of those things where this whole focus on the fakes is, it's a work in progress, and we're going to keep going in little dribs and drabs as new things come along. And when you just talked about, that's what made me think of it, with the people that they will source some real and they mix, like we've talked about at length. PPWF recently has all new stuff on their eBay page from Alexa Bliss. And from what I hear, I'm not going to divulge any of my sources, but apparently it was confirmed through Alexa that that signing did take place. Like, these are not fake photos. These are not stolen photos. PPWF did do a real signing. They paid her real cash, hopefully. And there are real pieces out there. But then that's what happens. And I could just sort of, with no actual, I didn't watch this happen, but I feel as though I've, can imagine how it went just the same. You pay her to sign, let's say 200 pieces. You go make a pile with the other 300 fake pieces. And even honestly, the most trustworthy authenticator is probably not going to look at 201 through 500 as close as they did the first one. Hopefully they looked at the first one closely. They don't always do that, but that's the game. And that is that when you're doing something like that, when you have the ability to work with talent legitimately, you have a good reputation as far as eBay's feedback goes, which is where they do most of their business. It's so scary because you're basically unbeatable, because everything's real in the pictures because it's the real stuff, and then you start mixing in the fake, and it really is a jungle out there. You really got to be careful. As funny as this is to say, but reputation does matter. You got to educate yourself on who you're buying from. That's why you don't go try to save $5 from someone, because you don't know where they bought from. You could avoid all these heavy hitters as far as the fraud and buy from someone who wanted to save $5. And then there you go. So you gotta just stick to the big sources, stick to high spots, stick to the places like that are firsthand and that what they're selling is legitimate.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. I hate to be like, the answer is don't go searching for deals. But really, unless you know very well what you're looking at, don't go searching for deals. That's pretty much it.
I feel like I know pretty damn well, and I'll be honest, I search for deals a lot less because it's so, there's different tells and things from different sources. But after a while, I would need to have like a NASA supercomputer to keep track of, these were fake from here and these were from there, and your head spins after a while.
Yeah. I don't really, again, the amount that I source is so limited that it's like, I don't really source anything.
Yeah, I used to look for deals for myself. I would find different things for my PC. I've never, I sell nothing. So the stuff I've sourced from Facebook Marketplace, like that Francis Ford Coppola Beckett thing I found for under $100 that I went to that guy's house by the water. Stuff like that I would look for myself, but I don't even bother because it's it's too much bad stuff out there.
All right. So what's coming up for us? Well, it is now that time of the week for me to once again remind you that you paid $1,300 for an Ice Cube photo op. How you feeling about that?
I'm shocked Richie hasn't spun that into an insult somehow.
That's an invitation. Come on, make fun of that. That should be made fun of. So make fun of it. Come on.
Yes, make fun of me for getting Ice Cube for $1,300. That's actually crazy. So, yes, honestly, I'm still excited about it. It's pretty cool. I already paid it off in full, so that's nice. I don't got to worry about it, but it's insane. And I deserve to be made fun of by everyone, including morons in Staten Island. Sorry, Vinny. Not you. All the other ones.
Well, if you're not a moron, should you be offended by it? Anyway.
That is true.
I purposely cut us off talking about Fanatics because we do want to have a Fanatics hype episode in a few weeks when it's closer to the show.
I got a lot to say, but he muzzled me. But
I was Stalin on that one. I was very controlling about maintaining the integrity of what I wanted to do. What ended up happening then, and we end up talking about it again. And then I feel like we already kind of talked about everything that we talked about. So we'll do our Fanatics show closer to. I'm very excited for Fanatics. Honestly, I'm very pumped.
Same.
So we'll get there when we get there. There's no rush, for sure. I'm going on Sunday only. You're going Friday, Sunday.
Yeah, and this is the one thing I'll throw out there just because it's so ridiculous. It's actually funny. I've been lamenting for months that if I went on Friday, I'd be losing the day's pay because it was summer school. It's not summer school. I don't even know what I was thinking. Summer school doesn't start yet. So
I don't know. This is not the first time where you've looked at a calendar and completely misinterpreted it. I think because you were like completely beside yourself about this. And then you were like, oh, thank God. I don't know. These are.
I think what it comes down to, I just remember last year, all of this Fanatic stuff sort of like revolved around summer school. And
it was like, a totally different time of year last year.
I know, but most of these shows, they stick to that same schedules. I think, honestly, which isn't any less stupid. Perhaps I should go live in parts of Staten Island with how dumb I am with this. But yeah, I just assumed it was still the same time of year, which, I mean, when you look at a calendar, it takes you all of 2 seconds to like realize it's not. So no excuse, I'm a moron, but I am going on Friday with like no regret. So you won't see me crying or being, like Mr. Krabs trying to chase after a dollar bill. I'll be just happy and having a good time.
There you go. I would be remiss if I didn't hype WrestleCon a little bit. I am very, very excited for WrestleCon. We have, of course, our guys coming to WrestleCon. We have on Friday, Swipe Right will be there. Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes. Again, you should definitely hesitate to bring your wife or girlfriend around those times because you may lose them. You may lose them if that's something that if you're nervous about. If you're looking to get rid of them, that's a different story. But very, very excited to work with those guys. They keep tearing it up every week on television. And then on Saturday, we have 2 more guys. We have Sean Legacy, who's,
NXT superstar,
killing it in NXT. Point. And I meant to tell you, I forgot. Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week talked about Sean Legacy having real chemistry on NXT. And getting a mention in the Observer is a big deal for an indie guy,
Yeah.
That definitely pays dividends for some of these guys, so it's not unnoticed. And Jackson Drake with Sean Legacy on Saturday. I'm very, very high on Jackson. I forgot. Shoot, I was watching Evolve. They gave Jackson a new nickname. Did you catch that?
I didn't. Do I have to change edits? I hope not.
Maybe he's not the Carolina Reaper anymore. Yeah, damn it! I reminded myself last night. I said Jackson has a new nickname. I meant to write it down and I forgot. So we'll have to look into it. But Jackson has a new nickname.
But wait, it might be a supplemental nickname because they referred to him. There was that promo that they cut just the other day, and they mentioned the Carolina Reaper getting into the world title picture. So I think the Reaper still lives. It's a really cool nickname.
But it is. And he has another name. Shoot. It's related to him being in the Vanity Project. It has to do with like how good looking he is and how many girls he gets. It's a funny name. I can't think of it. I was laughing about it when they said it. They said it a few times in the various promos. So I'm thinking they're trying to make a kind of Vanity Project style name for him.
Makes
but
sense.
I mean. Yeah, but these guys are just great.
Yeah. And let me just drop, well, first of all, I would love to say that we have such vision that we knew exactly how much Sean Legacy was going to blow up when we booked him for WrestleCon. But I mean, I'm not even going to lie like that. Like, I don't think either one of us thought it would be to this level, that he'd be on NXT like every week, like killing it. Like, I thought that was a couple of months away. I didn't think that'd be today. But here we are, and we're very excited to have him. And speaking about Vanity Project, I have not posted this yet. I'm not sure if I'm even going to post this yet. So if you are listening to the podcast right now, here's a little bit of exclusive information. We will have multi-signed 11x14s of everybody in Vanity Project. These are going to be limited. These are going to be awesome. I mean, if you look at the ID thing, besides like Sean Legacy and a couple others, I mean, Vanity Project, those are like at this point the guys that they're getting over right now. I assume this is go on.
Did you get, because I asked you to order special ones just for us. Did you do that?
I ordered special ones just for us.
It's demented that we're doing this, but we are, yeah.
2 of 2s.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are going to be limited, and it's really cool. I absolutely love what we're doing. It just makes me, as far as what we're doing on a business level, this is really awesome. I'm glad we're not like out there, no shade to anyone booking different types of talent, but like, it just never felt like sort of deciding between Tatanka and Ray Apollo. That just never seemed like something that really inspired me creatively. So this is much better for me. I like this.
We're gonna have a good time that weekend, honestly. We have to decide if we want to drive back and forth. I asked last week. No one has come forward with an offer to let Marked Out crash at their crib in New Jersey. I was looking. We have to figure it out because the hotel is $199. So we gotta just decide if that's worth it or not. Calculate. We have to calculate the gas and the tolls and stuff and see. It may actually just be worth it.
Maybe our old buddy will put us up in Staten Island. I mean, at
that point, the tolls are too far anyway. But I know you're joking. But here I am actually trying to calculate. We had to figure out what the gas and tolls will be, and if it's worth, it might just be worth, doing.
I gotta see. Since it's my birthday weekend, I don't know if I'd want to, but I mean, if it makes a lot more sense, maybe we gotta.
Are you one of those adults? Are you an adult that celebrates their birthday?
Well, I mean, my wife expects me to, so I mean, I kind of have to. I mean, I'm just depressed about it. It's bad. I'm getting old.
It's such a funny thing. I've never celebrated my birthday as an adult. That was the last birthday I celebrated. I was like 19, and I'm like,
you don't have parties with clowns and pinatas too,
or even any kind of nothing really. No, it's not really a thing. And in fact, I kind of like look at me. This is definitely one of those cultural things of where you grew up and how you grew up, but whenever I see adults celebrating their birthday, it strikes me as strange, actually.
Well, listen, all right, Marked Out radio listeners, next year we are throwing Sean. Don't tell Sean, but we're going to throw him a surprise birthday party. I'm going to hire Mr. Pop and Twist to do the balloons, and we're going to do a full party.
Well, this year, this summer is my 45th, so
that's a perfect year for Pop and Twist.
Well, that's this summer. It's in 2 months. So
start rolling.
But in any case, we might want to do that hotel. Honestly, if it's, I guess the Verrazano itself it's like $20 each way. So whatever, I'll work out the details. We'll see exactly or maybe the GW, not the Verrazano. So I gotta see whatever it would cost. We'll figure it out. But I did price out the WrestleCon hotel is $199 for what it's worth.
Here's the thing. It's actually unfortunate it's Friday, Saturday, not Saturday, Sunday. If it was Saturday, Sunday, and we were going to stay over, I would say just get crappy tickets to SummerSlam. But I mean, what the hell's going on Friday? We have to go to like a GCW show, which I don't think I want to do. So,
It's all these things that like fans care about. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it.
We could record another podcast episode on location. That'd be something.
I mean, you were falling asleep in the chair.
Nah, I was fine. I was just resting.
You need to go back and listen to that. You definitely some near sleep moments for sure.
I think I muted any snores, so I'm good.
But anyway, if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. And here are our upcoming signings. So we already talked about WrestleCon. Get your tickets, WrestleCon August 1st and 2nd in Newark. But we have other signings too.
We do. We have a private signing with Mr. NXT Super Sean Legacy. We will be with the man who does not spill his coffee, Mr. Cappuccino Jones. We will be with Zeta Steel. We will be with Marcus Mathers. We will be with Jackson Drake. Again, we will be with Smiley Kylie Ray and Emily J. We have varying dates on those. We have a couple that are coming up in a couple of weeks, like the Cappuccino Jones deadline is fast approaching. Sean Legacy, we're kind of just going to blend the first into the second. So, like, if you miss the first deadline, you just wait a little bit longer and you get it for the second. So, like, that's not a big deal. But anything Sean Legacy that's ordered already will be filled on the first signing, and then anything that comes after that will be for the second. But we have, those things are coming up. And listen, just because, Marcus Mathers, for example, has not really made his mark yet on Evolve, but when he hits Evolve, he's going to be huge. We've been
question.
We've been right all along with everyone else. They're handling this. I guess there's only so much TV time, and they are sort of going in small doses of who they focus on. And his time is coming, rest assured. Get your stuff now. And then due in November, we will be with Iron Mike Tyson. And that is absolutely crazy. It is courtesy of our friends at Fitterman Sports, and we're excited about that. We have some prints available. We are accepting mail order, and November will come before you know it. So check everything out on markedoutcollectibles.com.
I think we're good for the week.
We are.
I like how before this we did this. I was like, how are we going to hit an hour?
Listen, just when we think it's light, it becomes heavy. We had a lot to talk about, and a good thing you shut me up on Fanatics Fest, because we would have been going for over 2.
Yeah, so I have that tendency. So we'll put it in the notes for a couple weeks. I guess the week of we'll do that.
Correct.
All right. So for Marked Out Collectibles, markedout.com, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we will talk to you next week.